My name is...
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in for another exciting edition of Premade Rampage. This is the final week, and we have a marquee matchup between two of the best teams in Division B. My name is Yanni. I'm here with my partner in crime, my best friend, the Midget Cow. How you doing today, my man?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Yanni?
You know what? I'm all right. Like I said, the two best teams in the division between the Collective Destiny and Space Team 5. The winning team in this matchup will secure first and higher playoff seeding. So I don't know about you, but I'm expecting some high-quality League of Legends.
Yeah, we have an 8-0 team coming up against a 7-1 team with the two teams, Collective Destiny and Space Team 5, respectively, putting up some very strong results throughout the league play in these past couple of weeks. I'm really excited to see how they come up against each other in the head-to-head and what particular picks they've been sandbagging for this really strong matchup heading into playoffs, and what picks are just going to be strong and meta-dominating to find their series.
Absolutely. I don't think anybody's sandbagging, though. You take a look at the Collective Destiny, 16-0 in games. They've 2-0'd every single game that they've played. Meanwhile, Space Team 5, 14-3 game record with a 7-1 overall record. So maybe they've got some crazy picks coming out against the Collective Destiny who seem like they're just a cut above right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a really big definite line between those who are at this top level of league play and those who are at the lower levels of the league play. While this team is someone we're going to be seeing in the future in playoffs, the difference between those who are going in the high seeds and those who are going in the low seeds is going to be a really big dichotomy. And it's interesting to see which of these teams are going to push that envelope and really take that seed number one.
Yeah, this is a really good litmus test for both of these squads, right? So, obviously, both of these teams, they have locked playoffs at this point, just fighting for the number one seed. And when you get to play your last game of the season against a fellow playoff team and teams that are as daunting as like the Collective Destiny, for example, you have to consider yourself pretty fortunate. If you drop the game, it's all right. You're not in danger of losing out on playoffs, but it's a very good test for your team to see if you guys are going to be able to make a deep playoff run or if you might need to make some last minute adjustments.
Absolutely, and particularly with the way the meta has been shaking up with the patches that have come through recently, there could be a lot of different ideas that these teams have before playoffs they want to try out, that they want to potentially incorporate into their play styles. As we see, the junglers are starting to change. Some big hammers coming towards Hecarim, towards Udyr. These picks have been defining play for the past couple weeks between their incredible early game prowess and incredible mid to late game tanking prowess. They've heavily defined play. So seeing these teams as they're starting to look towards the pitches where these champions are being changed, we'll see what they have for their plan for how they're going to approach the game following these big changes.
You are absolutely correct about that. Champion, I still think Hecarim is still fairly strong, especially with this high amount of CC. I would anticipate that would be a pick that both teams may fight over.
Definitely, and there are many picks that these teams are probably going to be fighting over, especially given that there's been some particularly strong champions that have been picked up by both teams as the meta has progressed throughout this season. And both of these teams have a tendency to play some of the very strong picks overall. They tend to take a lot of the champions that are strong in the meta, whereas other teams we've seen tend to take picks that are more so niche to those teams. So I'm excited to see what they're going to bring to the table and how they're going to approach this matchup, as in a battle of brute strength, there can only be one winner.
Yep, there can only be one winner. I wonder who it'll be. So what do you think between these two teams? Just taking a look at a base level, no games played yet against each other. What are you thinking might come out on top?
So we have Collective Destiny, who has a strong, cohesive unit. They've been really powerful in all of the matches that we've seen from them. They're 8-0 currently, looking to improve to 9-0. And then we have Space Team 5, currently 7-1. They've been incredibly flexible in their lineup and in what they play, with players flexing across positions, not just champions. So when we look at the difference between a solid rock and something more like the flowing water of Space Team 5, I'm a lot more interested in what the Flowing Water brings to the table, and wondering if they're going to erode away that solid rank that is Collective Destiny. Personally, I think I'm going to give it to Space Team 5, as they bring a lot of different unique things to the table, and I believe a lot more in some of the champions that they're playing as they come into this patch. Whereas I think that Collective Destiny is a little bit more, they need to show us that they are the best team, and there's a lot of pressure on them as they are coming into this series as the best team, with Space Team potentially being that underdog.
Yep, I like your thinking there. That being said, I just think Collective Destiny is personally the stronger team. I wonder how the entirety of the series will shake out. Space Team 5, as we know, has a very deep roster. Their substitutes have played a large amount of games. So there's a lot of trickery that they can do. They can kind of swap their roles around and maybe keep Collective Destiny off balance. You know, a team that's they've they've been stalwart. They've played the same roster for so long that I wonder if synergy will be a question for Space Team 5 as opposed to Collective Destiny, but we will have to see. I do think their subs are particularly strong, though. Namisor and Climate Warming have played a ton of games and have seen a lot of success for Space Team 5.
Absolutely, and particularly when we look at the champions these teams are playing, there's a lot of aggressive picks being picked up from both sides. With in the past, they're displaying lots of really heavy engage, aggressive supports, really heavy engage, aggressive laners. So I'm looking forward to potentially many brawls breaking out in the early game, potentially a lot of early skirmishing with some of the gold leads ballooning in that early game. So hopefully we're going to have some really exciting gameplay with massive fights breaking out potentially as early as the 7 to 8 minute mark, or before that 5 to 6 minute mark when the dragons are starting to spawn.
Yeah, and can amateur. There's a lot of brawling all around, lots and lots of team fights, and I'm interested to see if there will be, like you mentioned, a lot of those early skirmishes, and if they're going to draft toward those. There's definitely a lot of champions that your AD carries and your mid laners can pick up that are built for early skirmishing, the part of the game where it seems like it happens a lot. Like you said, the skirmishing around the dragons. Obviously, you want very strong champions to be able to win those fights and try to parlay that into Dragon Soul.
Absolutely. And specifically in amateur play, we have a lot of situations where games will run long past when play would have necessarily put a nail in the coffin, especially in some of the more aggressive regions. And in amateur play, it's often comes down to which teams are securing those dragon souls after they've killed 4 dragons, or which team secures that elder dragon, which spawns after the dragon soul has spawned after those 4 dragons have been killed by a singular team, or what they're able to do once they secure that Baron buff and try to knock down some turrets as a team. And these strategic situations that spring up from these large macro plays around these objectives tends to define what level of play your amateur team is at, and whether or not your amateur team is particularly powerful or not so powerful.
Yep, that is pretty correct. And it looks like I think we're finally getting into the picks and bans, I believe. I wonder if we're going to be able to head over there, or we're going to have to wait until we actually get into the game. But we will see shortly, as I'm interested to see what these teams are going to pick, as we are finally here for it. It looks like the Silas and the Udyr have gone down, and now they're following up with a Sivir ban from the Collective Destiny.
Yeah, I'm glad to see Udyr going the way of the dinosaurs and being completely extinct, according to Space Team 5. Udyr and Hecarim being the top 2 junglers on the patch, and Space Team 5 have not really shown a tendency to play Udyr in the past, whereas the Collective Destiny are very big on that pick. And Udyr tends to just hit the bear stance button and run really fast and just absolutely obliterate you. And we also see Space Team 5 adding Rammus to that. With the recent changes, Rammus has become an incredibly popular pick in the jungle, as he's refilled some of that gap in the tank junglers, with Udyr and Hecarim being knocked down a bit in the levels, and definitely a very powerful pick if you've not picked it up much, and will really break open these team fights with the crowd control that he brings to these amateur level games, where point-and-click CC does reign supreme.
Absolutely, I agree with that. I like the Collective Destiny's ban of Sivir, by the way. Didn't get to touch on that much, as Junior FX, a avid Sivir player, and their 2 games of AD carry. They did play Sivir in both, so it appears that was a pretty well scouted ban there. The Collective Destiny, they have opted to ban Seraphine. That is what that blank ban is. It is Seraphine. Have confirmed that pretty smart ban as well. I believe Seraphine, very, very strong champion. Don't want to see that one in the game. And Space Team 5 is the one opting for the Hecarim ban, as they do not have first pick.
Absolutely, and I love that Space Team 5 has really put an emphasis on the junglers as they are on the red side, and red side typically has a worse path with the tank junglers, as you have to start blue buff if you want to jungle towards top side, and you have a worse leash if you're starting on that red buff, which means that you're going to have a much weaker skirmishing potential. So targeting out these tank junglers, making sure that the Collective Destiny has to play a skirmish jungler, such as like the Elise, the Kha'Zixes of the world. This is going to make it so that Space Team 5 has a much more powerful option for themselves, and they're able to secure themselves, hopefully, a jungle pick that's more on their terms rather than on Collective Destiny.
The Collective Destiny, with their first pick, they throw down the gauntlet. They opt for a first pick Jinx for Adishan. Now, I think that's quite a bold pick, as you allow ST5 to kind of pick around that Jinx and have the opportunity to pick champions that have an easy time shutting down the Jinx. While the Collective Destiny, they're kind of priced into protecting this Jinx. ST5 responds with a Lucian, and we are awaiting their next pick. I do like the Lucian. It's a pretty good flex. It's, you know, you can send that pretty much anywhere, as everybody on ST5 plays Lucian. So, you know, you can send it for Wanlu in the top lane, Nupachu this, or Junior FX in the mid lane and bot lane, respectively. And it looks like they follow it up with a Nautilus pick.
Yeah, and while you do mention that the Jinx is able to be drafted down by Space Team 5, and the Lucian Nautilus is clearly looking to capitalize on that Jinx lane, the Jinx itself is such a powerful pick in the current meta that, especially when you're talking about amateur level play, where Jinx is able to completely take over team fights and usually scale towards those 3 items, 2.5 items he really needs to be online, I think it's okay to go for it on that first pick. Although this follow-up of Teemo and Shen, it looks like it's going to be...
That's a Thresh, not a Teemo.
Utilizing the Teemo as a fill pick here.
I was a little worried for a second.
Shen's going to do an excellent job protecting that Jinx, going to probably neutralize whatever goes down in that top lane, and Thresh Jinx is going to be pretty okay into the Lucian Nautilus. Typically, Thresh is considered a counter to Nautilus if you're able to play it well enough. If you're not able to play it well enough, then Nautilus absolutely bodies it. And it's... in amateur level play, it's definitely a coin toss as to whether or not the players are skilled enough at timing those plays, those hooks, or if they are not quite good enough to stop the dredge line and stop the Nautilus from landing its passive on them.
Second round of bans coming through as Space Team 5 kicks this one off with an Azir ban aimed at Coral. Azir, fairly strong champion. I would have really liked to see it in a comp here from the Collective Destiny, but we will not be able to see that one, as the Collective Destiny will follow up with a Fiora ban.
The Fiora ban is definitely going to help protect that Shen, make sure that he's able to get to that level 6 and start impacting the map without losing too much in that lane. Banning both of the Azir and the Vladimir, so removing both of these gigantic hyperscaling mid laners, particularly the Vladimir has been a massive issue on this patch, and the Azir has been very powerful, but not as omnipresent in all the different levels of play. So Space Team 5, our team that's actually on the red side, and Collective Destiny, our team on the blue side, despite our overlays being slightly off, they're definitely putting up a pretty strong understanding of what it is that they're trying to target in the ban phase. Space Team 5, I think, is doing a much better job with their bans, targeting out specific positions and then picking towards, counterpicking what their strategy is coming in from Collective Destiny. I do like this Camille pick. Yeah, I really like this Camille pick coming in against the Shen. Camille's going to have an excellent time getting onto Jinx. She has an excellent time laning into the Shen. Together with the Poppy and Nautilus, is going to create a really strong diving trio that is able to just go forwards and put a lot of pressure onto that Jinx. The Jinx just continuously free fire, and hopefully the Lucian can get some of that action in there as well, being that one of those low range AD carries. So we're going to want to see Collective Destiny probably pick up some peel. So Skarner's going to do a great job peeling. Probably something else in the mid lane for just continuous damage, something like a Victor. or some other type of just damage-oriented mid laner. And then Space Team 5 will have the opportunity to counterpick that mid laner, and with this Poppy into Skarner matchup in the jungle, Poppy should be disfavored in this matchup, so Space Team 5 is probably going to want to pick a mid laner that can get priority into this Nivea matchup is going to be what they're coming up against, in order to help that Poppy out, as Skarner can be very, very fast at jungling when he utilizes those fires.
Yeah, I like the Nvidia pick. I like what the Collective Destiny is kind of shaping up for a comp here. Very push and pull. They can peel, they can engage, and Nvidia does fit the bill there for a pretty nice peel and potential picks with the Flash Freeze. And it looks like Space Team 5, they have gone in for the Kassadin, the late game insurance pick. I am a big fan of that. This lane is going to be pretty boring in the mid lane, but let me tell you, that Kassadin, he's been a terror for many, many seasons and will likely be a terror in this game if it goes late. Judging by the team comp of the Collective Destiny, I think this one may go the distance for game one.
I'll be honest, Yanni, I'm not a huge fan of this Kassadin pick here. Picking another melee carry when you're already in the position of Camille, Poppy, and Nautilus, I think that Space Team 5 may have just pigeonholed themselves into a really bad spot. Jinx is going to be able to freely build a Hurricane, and as long as Shen is able to stay with the Jinx and Thresh is able to stay with the Jinx, the Kassadin and the Camille, while they have a lot of damage if they can get to Jinx, if they can't, Jinx is going to rip them apart, especially in that mid game. Obviously, in the super late game, Space Team 5 is insane scaling. Kassadin and Camille are just some of the strongest scaling champions that exist in the game. Kassadin is going to rip apart Anivia, has an excellent matchup into Anivia with his different aspects of his kit, completely nullifying aspects of the kit. But I'm really concerned that Space Team 5 has drafted all melee champions and is going to throw themselves at this Anivia and this Jinx, and if they're unable to get to them, they will just die in a mass carnage.
See, I don't think that the Collective I don't think that Space Team 5 is going to have a hard time getting on top of the Jinx, though. I mean, you have Camille, you have Kassadin. Nautilus is going to be able to dive pretty effectively using the depth charge, try to get on top of this Jinx. I think that the Collective Destiny, they will need to be on point with these Shen taunts, with the Thresh Flays and the Peel ability in order to save the Jinx, because this Jinx can get blown up in an instant from Kassadin and Camille. And then I think the rest of the team falls apart from there. I just don't think they have the damage past that.
It really depends a lot, because Anivia is going to have that Frost Wall. If she has really strong positioning on the Frost Wall, Kassadin's Rip Walk is going to have to take him into a point of danger before he's able to get to her. And you can Frost Wall the Camille out of her abilities, and that is really going to be a problem, because Camille throws herself at them with the hook shot, and Anivia utilizes that Frost Wall effectively to stop the Camille hook shot. Camille could be on the wrong side of that wall and in a lot of danger, especially when you have the Thresh and the Skarner. Particularly, the Skarner can utilize the Thresh Lantern, and if Thresh is able to set up one of those really nice lanterns with the Sting, that could really, really end poorly for
that'll be terrible.
Space Team 5.
It doesn't matter who you grab at that point; they're likely dying. You can grab the super tank in the form of Poppy, Camille. I wouldn't consider Camille a super tank, but you get what I'm saying. You can pull one of them, and then it's all over. You know, it doesn't matter how quickly you respond to it, how tanky your Poppy is, or your Nautilus is. They are getting blown up. No ifs, ands, or buts about it.
Absolutely. Like, there is a very real scenario where we see Space Team 5 absolutely picked apart by the combination of Skarner's Impale and Thresh's Lantern, and that can very easily just delete your Camille or delete your Kassadin off the face of the map, especially if you're pulling them in and then Anivia Frostwall to remove the entire team from the equation. Anivia's Frostwall is also really, really effective for taking objectives with little to no prior setup with macro control. So these are tools that, especially for amateur teams, we're looking at how well they can creatively use their abilities. Well, Anivia's Frost Wall is one of those abilities where you can just wall off a corridor, and if the opposing team was slow on their rotation, then they have no shot at achieving that objective.
You I believe you are correct about it. And you know what? That's why I love having you on the broadcast, my friend. And it looks like we are just going to be getting into the game a little bit it's a little bit further away, getting through the spectator delay. And I gotta say, taking a look at these teams, I think I am a bigger fan of the Collective Destinies draft, provided that it comes together. Now, obviously, when you pick your teams, you can be like, all right, great, this is a great team, this is a great draft, we're all, all hands on deck, everybody's A-okay with it. Doesn't matter if it ends up falling apart in the end. I think that Space Team 5's damage could potentially melt through the protection of this Jinx, and they have opportunities to get to the back of the Jinx. But I'm a better fan of the Collective Destiny draft than I am the Space Team 5.
It's definitely an interesting question, which draft I would prefer. I do believe that Space Team 5 has the more damage potential coming out of their draft. Cass and Camille are pretty unparalleled in that damage department. But Collective Destiny has a much simpler to execute draft. Most of their crowd control is very easy to land, and every champion comes equipped with crowd control for Collective Destiny. We've got the Flame Chompers, we've got the Impale, we've got all kinds of crowd control layered onto these champions. The Death Sentence is going to be able to set up for pretty much anything. So I think Dogster is really going to be the hidden star of this game or the dark star of this game, as he's either going to be landing those Death Sentences and setting up for every single fight or finding those flays to disengage fights, or there's going to be a really big issue with finding fights for Team Collective Destiny outside of Skirner's Impale cooldown. And Impale is on a relatively long cooldown, upwards of a minute and a half first rank. So it's going to come down a lot to, are these Death Sentences connecting? Is Skarner finding those Impales to get ahead in the early game? Or are we going to see Blinky the Robot coming in with Poppy's hammer and just shattering them apart? And New Patch New Disc taking that Cassidy and rip walking all over their face?
I think one big area I want to point out is I think a lot of the onus on how well this game is going to go for Space Team 5 is on their jungler, Blinky the Robot. The Poppy pick, I wonder how well they're going to be able to execute it, because I think the best part of this pick is being able to get on to the backline near that Jinx and putting up the wall to prevent the Shen from trying to taunt for Peel, or, Thresh landing a hook and then getting denied when trying to take the hook in an attempt for Peel. I wonder how much that is going to come up in the game. It's an interaction that you wouldn't think is going to be super important, but I think it could certainly turn a fight or two.
Absolutely. And there's also the ability for the Keeper's Verdict to just change how a fight works, because when Poppy utilizes that hammer and sends a champion back to your spawn, you're really going to be in a tough shape if that champion that's sent back to your spawn is your Jinx. And there's no way for them to block that Keeper's Verdict other than with their own faces. So either you're sending the Peelers back or you're sending the carry. And in any way you call that, Blinky the Robot is going to have a really important job to change how these fights happen and morph the environment around how they want to play out these fights.
I can agree with that. I do think that the Keeper's Verdict, I think one of the better champions to hit is actually going to be Anivia in this game, believe it or not. Because Anivia provides so much area control that I think getting Anivia out of the fight would actually really benefit Space Team 5. More so than most, I would think. Obviously, if you get the carry out, you get the carry out. It's GG.
While this is definitely true, the Anivia is able to throw down that Frost Wall, and if the Frost Wall is already out when the Keeper's Verdict hits, then it won't really matter if Anivia is taken out, right? As she can just have the Frost Wall down, and that alone can be enough of an impact to really change up how the fight works. We'll have to see if Blinky is able to find ultimates like that, put the Keeper's Verdict on these carries, or if we're just going to see the Keeper's Verdict landing on things like the Shen, things like the Thresh, or even worst case scenario, the Keeper's Verdict land on Skarner after the tail has connected on someone and send the Skarner along with his target flying, which will be terrifying.
That would be pretty scary. What an impale that would be. You were talking about the impale plus dark passage combo, but didn't think about the impale and keeper's verdict combo.
I would consider that one a non-bow, given that you are on the opposing team, unless you're sending a Kassadin into the back lines. But we'll have to see how this plays out. We see lines of skirmish coming across for both squads. They are looking to defend their jungles and take control of these Skarner spirals in the early game. Both junglers are gearing up for a side to top side clear. It looks like that will favor the Skarner pretty heavily, as he clears a lot faster than the Poppy does. However, Camille is getting this delayed ward onto blue buff, which will give them the information that Poppy needs in order to stay clear of the Skarner and hopefully go for a more aggressive path to keep pace with the Skarner and potentially challenge for that grab.
Dogster, Addy Sean, given a pretty good leash. Thresh opening with the hook will not have nearly as much auto attack damage down at level 1, which would, I think, you would have liked to see the Flay start. The increased auto attack damage at level 1, I think, is really important, as we see a nice trade from Coral onto New Patchudis, proccing the Electrocute, dealing quite a bit of damage, as Anivia will have a pretty early lead on Kassadin, at least until he hits 6. Hook not quite landing, but lots of poke coming out from the Shinx. Meanwhile, in the top lane, Lawrence getting the better of Wanlu in the top lane, but Wanlu does hit level 2 and is looking to get a little bit aggressive onto Lawrence here. Lawrence bringing back his sword and getting his shield.
We see Wanlu pushing that wave pretty aggressively and making sure he hits level 2 first, that he's not bullied out by the Shen, and so he's able to farm up that first wave and utilize his potions and biscuits to make sure that he has a pushing advantage for his Poppy coming in.
Ooh, hook landed. Flay is very nice as well, as Somber has to get out of dodge pretty quickly. Junior FX doing what he can to put some damage down onto Dogster, but gets traded back onto, and I would say, advantage bot side for Adishon and Dogster.
Yeah, we definitely see an advantage coming towards the Jinx here, as she is able to pick up that very clean trade. That said, Junior did a really good job picking up all the for that, and is going to have the wave in a very favorable position, pushing towards them when they're not sure where the Skarner is. And you see a nice little fight breaking out here.
Ooh, Wanlu is going to take a tower shot for that one. Advantage Lawrence, and we do see Blinky the robot is taking care of that Scuttle Crab. Wonder if they will try to make a play onto Lawrence. I think it would be a little dangerous at this point in the game.
So we see Wanlu take that trade and take that tower shot to a certain moment to make sure that wave finishes and get a good reset off, while Blinky is able to secure the Scuttle Crab for that in a matchup that typically...
Look at Agony coming in for the counter gank. Wall going down pretty nice. Anivia looking to respond, but nothing doing there. No.
Unfortunately, Agony misreads this as this top Scuttle Crab being up because the Poppy is only level 3, and Poppy is going to be able to pick up that double Scuttle Crab.
And they get the vision too. They know exactly where he's at, so bot lane can potentially rotate over if the side of the Collective Destiny heads over to the crowd, which they did for a second, but realized pretty quickly that is not what they wanted to do.
We do see the Skarner is going to pick up the Raptors, though, as a cancellation prize. And this is pretty big for the Skarner, as it does mitigate the damage of being double Scuttle Crabs here.
I think this is a fairly bad trade for Lawrence, as the shield from the Camille is a little bit too strong. Wanlu getting the better of Lawrence once again. No Ignite for the Camille, so I don't think Lawrence is in too much danger unless he decides to take a fairly bad trade at low HP. Does have the level advantage, but this might be the fairly bad trade at low HP I was just talking about. He will go back into the refuge to prevent damage from one auto attack. But once Wanlu hits level 5, I have a feeling that he may spell blood in the water and may try to go for it, even with a wave this large.
Wanlu is really not going to go for it on a wave this large. He does not have enough damage to kill that Shen here, especially through his shield. He's really just trying to get as much damage in as he can before that reset happens from the side of Lawrence, because Lawrence wants to make that push happen with high HP so he can dive with Skarner. So Agony was there playing the Scuttle Crab, whereas Wanlu wants to make sure that he gets as much HP off the Shen so he can not just come in under the tower.
Either that shield from Kassadin was really large, or Coral hit a minion. We do see Blinky the robot. He is here. Flash Frost landed. Coral getting pushed closer to New Patchoudis. New Patchoudis is not level 6 though. Now Blinky the robot is getting pretty low. Will die to the minions for first blood. Now here come the teleports from the respective top laners, and now Wanlu all of a sudden is surrounded. An instant flash, however, and will be able to hook shot out to safety. It was a really good job by Wanlu after the teleport that turned out to not be so great. It was a really nice flash.
Wanlu comes in with only half HP because they're not able to get the full reset off, and that is really going to cost them here, as they're going to have to link this half HP with a pretty terrible wave spot as well.
This is an interesting dragon attempt down near the bot side. It's just Agony and Dogster. There is no Jinx, and now Blinky the robot, who is coming from a respawn, will spot out Dogster. They probably think that Adishon is nearby, but is not. It looks like this will be all Agonies getting Dark Passaged out of there. And you're pretty happy with that if you're the Collective Destiny. The first dragon of the game is that Ocean Drake going down. The second one will be a Mountain Drake, so we will either have Infernal or Windsoul for this game.
Yeah, and as a caster, I'm really happy to see the Stars take those Dark Passages already, because I really would like to see that Impale plus Dark Passage combo come through later in this game, and they clearly know what's up. They've already put the Thresh and the Skarner together and started pairing them up, so hopefully they're going to move them around the map with Agony very soon to hit that level 6.
There's a good taunt attempt in the top lane by Lawrence. He's got a nice large wave. Let's see how much he's going to be able to pick up. Well, in the bot lane, we do see Dogster is on his way to help out the AD carry Adishon. Agony in the area, but looks like they're not going to be able to make a play. Will the Collective Destiny defend this pink? It looks like they will look to do so, and Agony is now on the way. Dogster landing a nice hook. There is no dash on the Lucian. Junior FX has to flash. Agony, he's coming through. Tries to land the slow. We'll get the stun on the Lucian. That's going to be a kill for Adishon. And now Sombra has nowhere to go. 3 members of the Collective Destiny all around him. The zap goes down. It's a double kill for the Jinx.
Big double kill for the Jinx. This is going to massively accelerate the economy. Really, really good for them to pick that up. I think that was a really big overstep for the side of Space Team 5. Even if they had just been in a 2v2 scenario there, Lawrence on the Shen had that ultimate, the Stand United, ready to go already, and that would have been disastrous if the Shen had Stand United there, even if they were in a 2v2. Especially with the Shen already on the Bramble Vest, he's going to have pretty strong lane control for a little while now, and that needs to be respected. Space Team 5 are not respecting it now.
Yeah, Sombra was also down a level as well, so, you know, especially this early on in the game, the levels, they mean so much in the terms of the stats you get and the gold they're worth. Oh, New Patchoudis is in a lot of trouble, and that's going to be a solo kill for Coral.
Yeah, the Cassidy cannot afford to go down to the Anivia there. That's going to put Cassidy in such a terrible position, being down experience, being down all the minions. He's going to have a rough time going forwards.
Dogster looking to land a hook under the tower. Nothing doing there. One of my favorite plays to make is a Thresh, and we see Blinky the robot has joined the party. Lawrence could be in a little bit of trouble. We'll try to Shadow Dash to safety, and Will just out of the range of the second part of the hook shot. And Lawrence is A-okay. Agony is around in the top lane, does have that Impale ready for any fight that is about to happen. Dogster landing a very nice hook. The flay does not quite land into those Flame Chompers, and Sombra is going to be able to throw his hook toward the wall and get out of there.
Yeah, Sombra did a great job buffering his hook there and throws his dredge line out at the same time as the play is pulling him backwards, so he's able to get the dredge line to connect on the wall and gets away scot-free.
Lawrence could be in a compromising position. There are a lot of minions here. They have spotted him as well, so that's going to be quite a bit of extra damage going down, but he'll be A-okay, as we do see the side of Space Team 5, they did start on the Rift Herald. However, Carl has found an engagement. However, his team bails out on him. The Stand United will come down. And now Blinky the robot is getting pretty low. Wanlu is in, but so much damage going down. It's a double kill for the Anivia. Make it a triple kill for Carl in the mid lane. However, it looks like the Rift Herald did go to the side of Space Team 5, so that will not be the bonus objective for Collective Destiny. However, I think you're pretty okay with the turnout. Coral, 5-0.
At this point, Collective Destiny has taken a commanding lead here. And we talked about Space Team 5 having a problem with all of their champions being melee as they pile into these 2 damage carries and try to really pack a punch here. When these carries are this far ahead, as melee champions, you are just jumping into the throat of damage. You're going to be absolutely shredded to bits by the Anivia, by the Jinx, as they just pump out damage as you're trying to walk towards them.
We did think there was a clear-cut difference between the top 2 teams of the B division, and right now the Collective Destiny are showing that they are in a league of their own, up 7 kills to none, just under 11 minutes into the game.
We see that these lane matchups are also playing out very nicely for Collective Destiny. They did a great job handling the counter picks that came through Space Team 5, and they're really putting the works to them despite these counter picks, with the Anivia being counterpicked by the Kassadin and solo killing the Kassadin. That just shows a level of prowess on the champion that cannot be underestimated, especially in these amateur leagues. When you see these champions come through and they're just stronger players on them than the opposing competition is on their meta picks, it means that either you need to go back to your roots and play your own niche picks, or you're just going to need to respect that champion in a whole different kind of way.
And you can see the somewhat of, I guess I would call maybe potentially the disrespect, or maybe just the fact that they're up so much right now, and potential cockiness, as Agony stepped up very far to try to make a play onto Sombra a little while ago. Even with a lot of champions missing, it looks like the Collective Destiny, they are not afraid to make plays right now, and really, why would you be? Your team is up 7 kills to nothing, you've got a firm gold lead right now, and your late game carries have been accelerated already.
At this point, it's a wonder that Collective Destiny have just started hooping up and shoving down these turret plates, as they are massively far ahead.
Here comes Blinky the Robot. New Patchudis will Rift Walk out of the Glacial Storm. A nice flash from Coral. New Patchudis very low, getting lower and lower. Coral does still have the Anivia Egg. Blinky the Robot in hot pursuit. Can Coral find his way out of there? Will be able to hit the Blast Plant and get out of there. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, it's a double kill for Adashan. There's a fight in the top lane, and Collective Destiny, they're going to take the Drake off of that bot lane fight. Skarner got into the mix, getting 2 assists, and this is the second dragon of the game for the Collective Destiny, as fights happen all around the map. And while Blinky the Robot went to go help out mid, the Collective Destiny, they take advantage of the numbers game in the bot lane, and then they still don't even lose Coral in the middle.
Yeah, and notably here, Coral's Anivia has picked up the Everfrost, and Everfrost is able to either slow or root any enemies that are in front of you with a particularly short range, despite Anivia being more of a long-range oriented champion. This item is going to really heavily help her heal herself, as we saw when New Patchudis went in with the Kassadin and Rift walked on top of her. She was able to utilize that Everfrost to root the Kassadin in place and stop him from chasing her, and that was the space that she needed to then land her abilities, get the damage out, threaten against the Kassadin, and then make distance so she can then kill him, potentially, in the future.
Absolutely. Very scary stuff. If you are New Patchudis, you are not very happy about the way your early game has gone, but it's a late game champion. Anything can happen in these amateur games, regardless of how bad a game may look at the start. And we see Lawrence is getting a very favorable trade onto Wanlu. Wanlu has to flash out of there. Agony has come through, maybe looking to make a play, but Wanlu with the flash did manage to get out of there without any issues.
Wanlu has done a great job of actually farming out this lane without dying. However, with the rest of the map collapsing around them like this, and the Shen being able to itemize Bramble Vest into plated steel caps and just negate all the damage these auto attacks do, it has been a big struggle for him, and he will not really be online until many items are in his pockets. And at this point, it's not looking like he's going to be able to get those many items that he needs to be online.
Yeah, you know, obviously getting items is good, but if your team doesn't make it to that point in the game, it doesn't really matter all too much now, does it?
Yeah, and we specifically talked about how Space Team 5 had put together a really strong scaling composition here, with Camille and Kassadin putting up absolutely monstrous late game numbers, and Lucian being a vessel for bringing himself into that mid to late game without being at a deficit. However, the Lucian lane was the one that collapsed first, particularly they took early bad trades, and the Bullets usually took more.
Comes a play on to Coral, but
Big Everfrost to taunt.
Lands a great taunt. Lawrence is going to find Blinky the Robot, and Lawrence is going to find himself all the way out of the fight. But Blinky the Robot, you are against the member who's got the most damage right now. Blinky just able to get out of there. Here comes the Super Mega Death Rocket, and it lands! That's a big kill onto the Jinx. Now, being pulled is Somber. Dogster, Adashan are there. Somber has nowhere to go, is hooked up is stunned up, is taken down. It's a double kill for this Jinx, and the 5-man group of the Collective Destiny, they've converged onto the mid lane. Wanlu trying to do what they can to stop this play from happening, but they aren't going to be able to find all too much, and the first turret of the game will go down, and it's the mid lane turret.
And Jinx blinds that absolutely insane sniper shot from downtown, gets to get excited Frog, immediately starts moving at hypersonic speeds and attacking sonic speeds and runs directly at Sonic's Nautilus and just rips them out of the thin air. So much damage is coming out of this champion. They're so far ahead at this point. It is really, really difficult to play against Jinx that gets this far ahead, especially when she's able to find those resets from this great round. We also saw the Everfrost coming out from the Anivia once again, and Coral's Everfrost has just been absolutely spot on every time we've seen them utilized. Roots both members from Space Team 5 and sets up for a perfect two-man taunt from Lawrence.
Excellent mechanical play out of the Anivia. The Rift Herald is started by Space Team 5, but this time I don't think they're going to be able to get it. They got it the last time, but they couldn't even secure it. Coral does get stunned up, so the Glacial Storm does go down, and now is in the egg form. It's a 4v3. Dogster coming to join the party. Whirlwind, look, they're still alive, though. Resurrecting is Coral, but Coral's the one to go down. New patch who this will manage to get out of dodge. Blinky the robot, very low, is taken down. Junior FX and Adishon, they have joined the party as well. Very low, and the kill. Somber is going down there, and Lawrence and Dogster in hot pursuit of Junior FX. On the other side of the fight is Adishon picking up one kill onto the Camille, and super mega death rocketing the Caston, who was caught sleeping. It's a double kill for the Jinx. Once again, these super mega death rockets are absolutely lethal.
Absolutely lethal indeed. The control ward in the pixel or in the top side bush is going to see that Caston as he's meandering around in the river. Adishon immediately picks him up with that super hit. Gets excited and picks up another kill off the back. Excited. And this Rift Herald is going to go to the side of Collective Destiny, allow for the empowered recall from the Skarner, and Agony will be out on the map very shortly with that Rift Herald, probably looking to potentially even crack an inhibitor open with that.
Yeah, there's so much you can do. Lawrence is so strong, so you have scenarios where you can send Agony up with Lawrence or in the bot lane with Lawrence after you take the Dragon to drop the Rift Herald and rotate the entire team over to the Baron that'll be spawning very soon. There's so much that the Collective Destiny can do here. They've got a tight vice grip on the game, and this could be it. They could just clinch it right now and end the game with their next move. Interested to see how it will progress as Space Team 5. Gotta give them a lot of credit. They are ready to scrap every single time. They're here at the Dragon. They're ready to go. The Camille is not there, though. Does not have teleport. Well, Lawrence has Stand United and teleport. So we will see how it shakes out. Space Team 5, they have started up the Dragon. And it looks like
Space Team 5 are just looking to donate this Dragon, to be honest.
Yeah, the Rift Herald goes down in the bot lane, and the Keeper's Verdict is going to knock 2 members out, but it's already taken by Agony. The ultimate down onto Adishon, he gets knocked up, but the return stun by Coral is way too strong. Blinky the robot taken down. In hot pursuit is the rest of the Collective Destiny. New Patchudas doing what he can to get out of there. He's probably got his Rift Walk up shortly. The hook does not land. Coral flashing after him, but the Rift Walk away. The Impale lands onto Somber. Somber 1 or 2 auto attacks away from death. Make it 1. The kill is down. It's another one for Adishon. The Rift Herald is still alive. It's got about 800 HP, but the entire team of the Collective Destiny, sans Lawrence, is in the area. Meanwhile, Wanlu had to back and is now in the bot lane. It's a 4v1. They are chasing them down. The Rift Herald will finally expire, but it'll be 2 turrets and a Dragon for the side of the Collective Destiny, expanding the gold lead even more.
And Shelly, the Rift Herald, is going to claim the lives of 2 turrets as the Dragon fight is progressing. And off the back of that, we're going to see a lot more gold funneled into Adishon's pockets. Probably able to pick up a 3rd item here on their back, potentially more. Oh, we're looking about maybe half that 3rd item. And this is going to really put the works onto Space Team 5. As Jinx approaches these crit thresholds, where she's able to put out closer to 80% crit, she really starts to become completely unstoppable in these fights, as her passive, Get Excited, provides her with quite a large amount of attack speed, and her item's going to provide her with more than enough damage. She's just really looking for that critical strike chance in order to just crank those numbers up to 11.
It's a very daunting task when you have to beat a late game Jinx. It's an even harder task when you have to beat a late game Jinx when you're going to be about 23 minutes in the game by the time Jinx has their 3rd full completed item. So I don't have too much hope for Space Team 5. but maybe there are things that they can glean from the rest of this game that can help them in going into Game 2, because I gotta be honest with you, I do not think they're going to be able to win this one.
Space Team 5 has definitely put up an excellent fight in terms of objective macro play. They've been on time to pretty much everything major and have done a great job being in the right place at the right time. Unfortunately, their players have not been playing as if they're in the right place at the right time, and they've been falling apart at the seams. Hopefully, what we can see from Space Team 5 is a draft that fits more their style and potentially utilizes those early game champions to more effect, as this scaling style is just not cutting it here as they are getting demolished in the laning phases.
I gotta give a lot of credit to the teammates, the team members of the Collective Destiny. I think that they've been playing a very tight game. There have been only a couple of times where they were maybe flanked in a jungle scenario where, you know, they let the opposing jungler get through due to lack of wards. But other than that, their ward control has been spot on. Their positioning in fights has been top notch. They've really played a very clean game, and that's something that you don't see too often at this level of play. I am quite impressed by these guys.
Yeah, and something that we've noticed throughout these league plays is when we've checked in on these undefeated teams, the undefeated teams have been the ones that have been really putting up a very clean front with their ward control, doing a very methodical movement throughout the land, and making sure that they check their boxes as they're approaching these objectives and really control the areas that they're trying to fight over.
And really, the areas are all theirs. The ward's getting cleared out. I gotta be honest, even a 4v3 in advantage for Space Team 5 will probably not go the way they want it to. Agony, Dogstar, and Coral are just pillaging the jungle of Space Team 5. However, it looks like they've decided may want to try to make a play on the Dogstar, but they opt not to. It's just a clear of wards, nothing more they can do. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, Lawrence creating a lot of pressure, forcing New Patch Hudis to rotate over to begin to clear wards. We see some pings going down onto the Baron. Lawrence chilling, waiting for an opportunity to potentially stand united in, maybe teleporting. It looks like they're going to try to catch out Blinky. Dogster with a great... Wow, that was such a great play from Dogster. The sweeping lens to spot out the silhouette of Blinky and a perfect hook to catch him. Looks like they're going to clear this ward, and they're going to try to clear the Baron.
Yeah, and with the jungler down, it's a pretty free Baron take. They've already made sure they cleared out all the vision, and Blinky was unfortunately the member who was Space Team to look for whether or not the Baron was being started up by Collective Destiny, and that's just going to result in a pretty clean Baron take for Collective Destiny here. It doesn't really matter how many words you throw over the wall.
Let's try from Junior FX.
Secured by an auto attack.
Yeah, secured from Adishon. That's kill number 11 for him if you're counting.
There was a smite throw down there. It just brought the Baron to about 12 HP, which was then succinctly secured by the Jinx auto attack, unfortunately, despite the illusion culling coming down. That was actually very close to being a stolen Baron.
Yeah, I guess the jungler would have been in agony for that one.
This is Cloud Soul.
Trying to do what they can to get in, but they're not able to. Dodging the hook nicely enough, but it is the Cloud Soul, and this Cloud Soul for the side of the Collective Destiny, I think it's a pretty strong one, if I do say so myself. Getting the extra movement speed for the ultimates is really important. Shen's going to be running at you at Mach 5 after he Stand United's in. Agony is going to impale you, and you're going to be on the other side of the map.
This is a 200 armor Poppy that is losing over their HP from the signals from Adishon's Jinx. They are in deep trouble when their frontliner can't tank anymore, and their frontliner is just absolutely being shredded apart.
Look at this. You see Coral just standing in the top side, waiting for more members of the team to show up before they decide, okay, we're going to push forward and we're going to buff Baron, buff the minions. That's something that you do not see at this level of play. Great coordination.
We do see that there is the split pushing coming in. They are not utilizing that middle lane, they're only pushing through this top lane. That's really going to make it very
no. Dogster landing the hook onto Somber. Somber getting stunned. Nowhere to go. It's another kill for Adishon, and the siege continues. New Patch Hudis is in the area along with Wanlu. Junior FX also coming through to defend, but it is a 4v3 in favor of the Collective Destiny. And let me tell you, if Space Team 5 can't win a 4v3 in their favor, they're certainly not going to win a 4v3 in the other team's favor. So it looks like this top lane inhibitor will be the first one to go down, and it looks like they might try to end the game. New patch who this has to rift walk away, taking a lot of crits. Super Mega Death Rocket brings him within a hair of going down, but he will survive. The culling from Junior FX taking a lot of damage himself. Blinky the robot, meanwhile, trying to stop the onslaught of Lawrence, but now Adishon is here. Flash taunt from Lawrence, taken down by Adishon, getting credit for that one, as the wave will be pushed up, and it looks like they've rotated over to the bot side. They're going to look to take out the bot lane inhibitor turret. Junior FX, the zap doing so much damage to him. The bot lane inhibitor, that one's gone too. The minion wave is here, and it looks like this could be the final push. It's a 5v3, make it a 5v4 as Junior FX has come back from the fountain. The first Nexus turret going down. The second Nexus turret was already low, but it looks like they're looking for kills. Sombra, one crit away from dying, will manage to get out of there. The Nexus, the focus now, as it looks like they've hopped onto Adishon. Adishon getting knocked up and taken down. The suppression goes down. Agony trying to get Sombra out of there. The box is there. The Nexus going lower and lower, trying to save the KDs, and they do manage to save the KDs. The Collective Destiny with a decisive Game 1 victory.
We see Collective Destiny just absolutely mowing down Space Team 5 coming into this endgame scenario for them. The amount of damage that Adishon is putting out with this Jinx was just way too high for anyone in that team to actually contend against. Managing to collect almost every single kill in that game and really just putting on a clinic for what crisp Jinx play inside a team should look like. Just steamrolls them.
That was yeah, that was a game. That was utter destruction. The Collective Destiny, Vinny, Vidi Vici, they came, they saw, they conquered. They take Game 1 in convincing fashion. And, you know, we talked about, even we talked about it in the game, but we talked about it pre-game, that I thought the Collective Destiny were just a cut above Space Team 5, and they proved it in convincing fashion.
Absolutely. One of the biggest things that you want to see coming through Game 1 is just a dominating performance with convincing moments. And there were many, many convincing moments here for me. However, there was one particular moment that looked like the game could have flipped on its head. Regarding that second Rift Herald fight, we saw Space Team 5 put up a very strong presence in that second Rift Herald fight. They managed to catch Collective Destiny in the choke point and really just took it to them in that fight. And unfortunately, Sombra picked up the bounty that Anivia had for 800 extra gold on his Nautilus support, which was not where that gold needed to go in order to get Space Team 5 back into the game. But if we look back, and maybe that changes just a little bit, and we see new patch Who Dis take that up for his Cassidy, and that accelerates him into his Emerald. So potentially he's able to start making picks around the map, or maybe we see Wanlu pick that bounty up and finish his core items on the Camille earlier and make those picks, especially when these teams are really looking for those picks with the Camille, with the Cassidy. That fight really was very close.
It was a close fight, but I got to be honest with you. Do you really think that fight, if the shutdown gold went over to somebody else other than the Nautilus, do you think it really would have made that much of a difference? I mean, this game was just it was not close. It was not close from the word go. It was not close from the early mid game, about the 15-minute mark, and it wasn't close as you got past the 20-minute mark.
Definitely, the game was not close in the way it played out. Collective Destiny absolutely took them to the cleaners, made sure that they made every single moment count, made massive gold leads happen, only gave up a few kills here and there. Really just, I think only the one kill on the Anivia was given up the whole game, and just had an absolutely fantastic time running around that map, picking up as much gold as they wanted to. However, Space Team 5, they had a very strong and clean macro play, and they were trying to contest that vision. They just didn't have the money to contest it. They were in the right place at the right time, multiple different times throughout the series. Unfortunately, though, they had Drake number 2, the first Cloud Drake that came up, stolen away by Agony on the Skarner, just ran right in there, smited the Drake, rode a Rode a Lantern right on out. Dark Pass is just making things seem so easy. Potentially, Space Team 5 might just have the wrong idea going into this draft, targeting out those junglers. If Agony is going to dominate your jungler this hard with Skarner, which is considered a tier 2 or even tier 3 pick, you may just want to open up those S tier junglers and see if you can trade out one of those strong matchups so that Blinky can get something other than this Poppy, because the Poppy just ended up being a non-factor. We really didn't see any of those big moments that we were hoping to see come out from the Poppy, unfortunately.
Well, we will have to see how the strategy for Space Team 5 changes, as they will be on the blue side for this game, and they will get first pick. And while we wait for that and get some time to prep, we will take a short break, but don't go anywhere, as Game 2 for this exciting series between the top 2 teams in Division B will continue after a short break. We'll see you then.
Take a moment right here, feeling like it's out gear. Driving towards the sun with a rose and a gun. Feel the wind in my hair, going nowhere I swear. Like an outlaw on the run, dangerous but it's so fun. Running, running, no. Hold on, don't let go. Running, running, no. Keep running. Told my boss that I'm done. Had no luck with my mom. Say, what will you do with your life? You know it's hard to survive. A cigar in my mouth. Maybe guilty but proud. Now I'm an outlaw on the run. Dangerous, but it's so fun. Running, running low. Hold on, don't let go. Running, running low. Keep running low. Running low, keep running. I'm running low, keep running. Like an outlaw on the run. Dangerous, but it's so fun. Running low, keep running. I'm running low, keep running. Like an outlaw on the run. Dangerous, but it's so fun.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, we have returned. Thank you for your short wait. We appreciate everybody being here for Game 2 of the series between the Collective Destiny and Space Team 5. This time, Space Team 5 will be on the blue side and Collective Destiny will be on the red side. Not quite sure if the change of side is going to help them out a lot. Some people are just blue side players, I myself would probably consider myself a blue side player. That's, not a
But that's just you.
not great. Well, I don't get blue side that often, and my win rate's bad.
Yeah, but blue side is just considered statistically better by the community. But, I mean, red side gives you that counter pick potential. You get to make sure you see everything that comes through from the opponent's strat before you make your pick. You're the most important player on your team, so last pick is always safe for you. At least that's the way I play. But we will see Space Team 5 bringing in, it looks like Nami Sword from playing matchup instead of Wan Lu. So Wan Lu on the Camille going to be put on the bench for now, and Nami Sword bringing out that potential wild card pick. We've seen them play 6 times in the top lane for Space Team 5, so an equal amount of time so as Wan Lu going into this. And potentially this is the change that they need in order to make something happen in the series and break open what has been almost a shutout for Collective Destiny here.
Yeah, you get a bit of difference in champions. Wan Lu playing things like Camille, Silas, or Nectin, and Nami Sword plays very variety champions, a little bit more magic damage oriented top laners. So it's really just a different flavor of Space Team 5, and I'm interested to see how that one's going to shake out. See what's going to happen. I think that Junior FX they had a pretty rough go at it the last time around with a very aggressive early game AD carry. So that bot lane they have to get themselves sorted out, because I personally think that Lucian Nautilus is not something that really should be losing to Jinx Thresh. But obviously things happen. There are extenuating circumstances. But would like to see a bit of a stronger lane this time around.
I mean, the Lucian Nautilus lane, while it's definitely powerful if that dredge line connects, Thresh does a very good job of neutralizing that Nautilus. And Thresh Jinx has an insane amount of damage. Jinx is one of the top champions on this patch for good reason. Her damage is way through the roof. And Lucian is one of the worst champions, has been for a while now, just because his damage has been nerfed so many times because of his presence in mid lane and his presence in lane. And right now, I really would expect to see that Jinx Nautilus, or the Jinx Thresh, take out that Nautilus very quickly when he's not able to proc his Aftershock by landing a dredge line. Without that bonus armor or magic resistance, he is such a squishy target. That lane did play out the way I would expect it to see, to be honest.
Well, the thing is, it's very imperative that the Lucian Nautilus lane gets level 2 first, and they didn't. They got level 2. I believe they were a little bit behind. If not, they got it around the same time. And it's really imperative that you hit it first, because Lucian still has the strongest level 2, one of the strongest level 2 power spikes in the game. That much is unchanged.
Absolutely, and that level 2 power spike is something that can be abused very heavily. That said, when your dredge lines are not connecting at the rate that the death sentences are connecting, there is going to be a difference in the 2 different champions, and you got to hit the hooks. If you aren't able to hit the hooks, then you are just worthless in that lane. And Thresh brings ranged auto attacks, where Nautilus is. I would prefer to have the Thresh as my support than the 10 out of 10 times. And supports really do dictate that bottom lane. So,
I mean, I would also prefer to have Thresh, but you know me. I love playing Thresh.
Well, you are always the dark star in any conversation.
I appreciate that, mostly because of the gift that you got me the other day for my birthday.
This is
I don't
great
have
shit.
it down here. I don't have it down here, but he got me one of those. What are they called? I don't know exactly what they're called, but the really
They're
cool,
like the 5-piece hanging posters, I guess.
Yeah. The ones where you like put the panels at like different heights and stuff like that, and it's Darkstar Thresh's splash art, and I love me some Thresh. So I was very, very happy to get that. I'll have to find a place to put it. Potentially, maybe back here. There's a spot right next to Island Time Tiki Hut, always open. You know, that spot's always
Definitely.
open. That would be a great spot for it. Probably once I move to a more enclosed casting area. That's
Fortunately,
probably what
though,
I'll be waiting for.
our match is no longer in the black hole of content. We are moving into that ban phase, and we will be seeing the Udyr once again banned out here by Space Team 5. So they are targeting those S tier junglers, and Collective Destiny is going to respond with that Silas ban. So both of these champions potentially never going to be seen this entire series if Space Team 5 can't pick up a win here.
Yeah, and that's you're pretty happy to not see a Silas or an Udyr. I personally am really happy when I don't get to see those champions in my games, as I find them quite annoying. Silas Kingslayer, super strong. Space Team 5, they opted for Rammus as their second ban. The Collective Destiny responds with another Seraphine ban. Space Team 5 hanging on their last ban here. Not quite sure what they will opt for, but they will opt for a strong one, I bet. It's very rare that a team would ban a weak champion, but I've seen stranger things happen.
Stranger things have happened many seasons in a row. Like I'll say, Space Team 5 are just going to need to tap into that otherworldly energy if they want to bring this series to Game 3, as that first game looked like an absolute shutout. And they are going to go with those 3 S-tier junglers banned again away, and we'll see if they have something else in their pocket.
I'm kind of confused by that. I would have thought that they would have got to ban another fairly strong champion and force the Collective Destiny to ban Hecarim or give it to Blinky. And Hecarim is a very strong jungler and a champion that Blinky certainly plays. So I'm pretty mystified as to why they opted for that. Maybe to make sure that Lawrence didn't get Shen again, because it looks like Space Team 5 did first pick Shen for Nami.
Absolutely, and this Shen first pick is really going to decide how this series goes. Clearly,
they even go support. Who knows?
You brought in Namisor for a reason. Wanlu is not particularly known for his tank play, and Namisor certainly is more of your flexible player, brings in those tanks. And Namisor picking up this Shen immediately right off the bat is going to deny a lot of the plays that Lawrence was able to make. There were 2 specific times in the mid-game where Lawrence was able to save the Anivia, and especially if they're trying to unlock Hudis' new patch with one of his more assassin-oriented mid lane picks, this Shen is going to be important to take away. But we will see that Thresh Jinx lane once again picked up by Collective Destiny, and I am looking forward to it ripping up Space Team 5 once again, potentially.
Yeah, this time properly displaying as a Thresh and not a Teemo, but they did give that bot lane back to the Collective Destiny. Maybe that could have been one of their last bans. They could have opted for a Thresh ban or a Jinx ban as one of their last bans as opposed to the Hecarim. I do see what they wanted to do, though. If they really had their hearts set on getting Lawrence off of the Shen, then maybe that was the way to go to make sure the Collective Destiny did not get that Hecarim. Looks like Space Team 5, they're going to opt into the Sivir. That's a Junior FX special on the hunt. Very strong ultimate ability, especially when you can stand united to Shen in and have him run at Mach 5. Azir, also the pickup here, was banned last game, but now new patch Hudis will have the opportunity to play this long-range chicken mage.
This Azir and Sivir combination is going to be incredibly deadly against the Collective Destiny. They really need to pick up some engage that is able to reach the Azir and the Sivir here, as Thresh with his death sentence is not going to have a shot at getting this Sivir, with Sivir having a spell shield that will negate that death sentence. And Azir is going to outrange this Thresh pretty heavily. The Gnar pickup certainly helps. It's going to be able to bully that Shen a little bit with his Mega Gnar form, potentially allowing for some kind of engage. But Gnar also is going to have a very difficult time reaching Sivir and reaching Azir. I really want to see Collective Destiny pick up something that is able to get to these very long-range targets or flank these long-range targets. You really don't have much left to get that. Going into these later phases, I'm hoping that they're not saving their last pick for a mid-lane counter pick, given that the mid laner has already been shown. But if you're saving your last pick for a jungler counter pick, I'm not quite sure if that's exactly where you want to be either, given that your jungler just ripped apart Blinky the Robot in the line matchup in the previous match.
The jungle pool beginning to evaporate. It is in the Shuriman Desert, so that does not surprise me. Poppy, Skarner, the ones taken out now. Vi from the Collective Destiny. That is a clear target toward Blinky the Robot. Definitely one of their most played junglers. And now the ball is in Space Team 5's court for their last ban. They'll have to be careful with this last one, as it looks like jungle... Not sure,
This is left open.
It's jungle, it's mid lane still open. There's a lot of power picks.
There's some really, really good picks up for Blinky here. Morgana is still available. Morgana is excellent on the current patch.
Is anybody going to bust out Diana? Diana's real strong, too.
Diana's okay, but she's really not where you want to be on Space Team 5 when you already have Sivir as Azir. Like, she's okay with Shen, but you really don't need to utilize a Morgana or a Diana, and she's not going to do a good job getting the Jinx, but Morgana will just stop this Gnar from being able to do anything, would bring the Black Shield to the team. I'd really love to see a Space Team break out that Morgana jungle here. I don't know if it's been played by them before. Blinky definitely plays it. We could also see like maybe a Zac come through. Zac Shen is really strong, would definitely access this Anivia. Collective Destiny is basically just going for the same composition as they have. 2 damage carry threats, an initiating top laner, a supportive support, and I'm going to go ahead and say it right now. They're going to bring out a tank jungler here, and it's probably going to be something along the lines of they may not go for the tank. They might not go for something like Sejuani. Instead, they could go for something like Graves. Graves would actually really help them out here. We might see them go for Rengar even. Rengar would do a great job getting to his ear. And we see the Leona paired with the Sivir. Leona's going to be having a terrible time into the thresh. She's going to do a great job in shutting out Anivia potentially.
Absolutely.
And this is not where I want to see you take your jungler.
And I think that Sivir Leona is a pretty good combo here, even though Leona into Thresh is a nightmare for Leona, because Sivir has enough wave clear once she starts getting to level 4, level 5, and onward, that this will really open up Leona to roam a lot. So they're able to potentially make some plays. Cho'Gath the last pick for Space Team 5, so it appears that this will be a River Shen coming out for Blinky the Robot.
Potentially.
It could go either way. It really could go either way. But Nami Star plays a ton of Cho'Gath. I expect this to be a Cho'Gath top.
I'd rather not see either of these. So the Cho'Gath top, I'm pretty happy to see. I'm not really happy to see Cho'Gath top into Gnar. Gnar's second ability, his Hyper, does do percentage max HP, and Cho'Gath is well known for his ability to stack his maximum health to absurd totals. But Gnar is going to cut through that pretty easily. And so is Jinx, so is Anivia. Jinx is going to be building that Kraken Slayer, as we saw her build last game. And Kraken Slayer is also going to add that percentage max HP damage. The Cho'Gath is really going to have a rough time in this game. And Shen coming through as the jungle pick, he struggles to hit his level 6 to get that Stand United when in the jungle. And while it's a great way to hide your pick and make sure you pick up Shen, I feel like they're lacking pretty heavily in terms of just ways to make these team fights start, with the exception of Leona's Solar Flare. You're either relying on Cho'Gath Rupture, which is very unreliable, or Leona's Solar Flares to start these fights, and that means you're going to be forced to fight front to back. And if you're going to compare Jinx to Sivir and Anivia to Azir and damage output, it's going to be difficult. These are pretty comparable champions in terms of damage output, and Collective Destiny just ripped you apart in previous games. So
you do have to keep in mind, though, the Sivir on the hunt will help make Cho'Gath's Rupture a little bit more consistent. Will allow Shen to get that speed boost to maybe taunt the backline, or at least get a little bit closer to get somebody called out. This will help, again, Leona as well. Can also set up some pretty good Shurima shuffles out of the Azir. That movement speed is not to be understated, and does give Space Team 5 a little bit of extra consistency. Now, not much. It's not like it's a foregone conclusion that they're going to hit these Carrot control abilities, but it helps.
The On the Hunt is certainly going to allow the Shen to get a better shot. More people, but
well,
doesn't make it.
It makes it harder to dodge, at least. Like You're not trying to hit a max range rupture.
This is true.
Now all of a sudden you're closer to mid range, and now all of a sudden you have more options to go with your rupture. And when you give your opponent more options to dodge that aren't as clear cut as prior ones, it's a little bit easier to knock them up at times.
This is absolutely true. That said, I really, really don't like to see when amateur teams pick up these very, very
difficult to execute
skill shot oriented,
like you spoke about in the last game.
Well, so
that was really a problem that we had with their
in the comp. The difficulty of execution of the comp is one thing, but when you pick up a lot of crowd control that is incredibly difficult to land,
right?
You know, this is a team composition that I'd be ready to see, you know, Telecom packing or ready to see Team Liquid packing up on their stages. But coming through in the gold level gameplay, I'm a little wary of it. It's a very powerful team on paper. I'm really happy with Space Team 5 team, but in practice, we just saw you have trouble landing your abilities in the game before this. And while I'm certainly confident they're going to bounce back with full force here against Collective Destiny, I'm wondering, maybe you could have drafted yourself a little bit easier ability to hit. Maybe you could have drafted yourself some things that are a little bit stronger at packing their punch if you just point and click at the enemy champion.
Now, a couple of things I do like about Space Team 5's draft is that the bot lane of Sivir Leona is going to be noticeably safer than the prior bot lane of Lucian Nautilus, because when you pick Lucian, you're kind of priced into fighting early, whereas when you're playing Sivir, you're really not. You can just sit back and farm all game long. Like, sure, Jinx is going to be able to as well, and you don't typically like to see that. However, if you manage to land a lot of stray poke with her boomerangs, all of a sudden you can get a lot of damage in, and then you have the option with the Leona to go in for the hard engage. So I expect that Junior FX and Sombra to have a better lane. When it comes to the mid lane, I also think that Azir is not as abusable as Kassadin is in the early goings. Coral shown that they are a very fearsome Anivia, I should say. And the bird will be the word in this mid lane, as you do have the bird matchup between Azir and Anivia, and I'm interested to see if new patch Hudis will be able to get out of laning phase without as many issues as they had the last time. Now, I do think there will be a little bit less jungle presence out of Blinky the robot. I think they did have a fair amount of jungle presence in the first game, even though things didn't necessarily go the way they wanted them to. I do think that Namistar is going to have a more difficult time in the top lane, though. You know, as we saw in the last game, Wan Lu had a pretty bad matchup, and I think this time around Namisor also has a pretty rough matchup. So I think that Collective Destiny did a pretty good job of drafting for Lawrence to help them out, and now we get to see them on the Gnar make some really impactful ultimates.
This particular matchup is, while it's typically Gnar favored, the Shen is able to fight back against the Gnar and can have some great shining moments. And last game, we saw Lawrence utilize the Shen very effectively against Wan Lu's Camille and get very strong trades despite the matchup not necessarily being Shen favored, particularly off the back of Bramble Vest and Plated Steel Caps. Bramble Vest being an 800 gold item and Plated Steel Caps being 1100 gold. So this game, I'm looking to Namisor to be able to make that Bramble Vest purchase and then follow it up with the Plated Steel Caps purchase. Bramble Vest reducing all that incoming physical damage by a large portion and also reflecting back a bit of it. And then Plated Steel Caps reducing all incoming auto attack damage by 12%. These two aspects are going to be able to make that matchup very Shen favored, or sorry, very Cho'Gath favored, as we see the Cho'Gath play against the Gnar. And I think the Gnar might actually end up having a bit of difficulty going into the mid-game phases if they're able to pick up those first ones.
I can agree with that. I think in the early game, though, it'll be pretty favored for Lawrence. Naturally, it's a range versus melee matchup, so that pretty much goes without saying at this point.
Yeah, and I will say, though, that the place that I am looking at most critically going into this game is definitely going to be Quarrel's Anivia into New Patch Hudis' Azir. We saw New Patch Hudis do a good job opening up space for Blinky in the early game in order to make sure that Blinky was able to pick up that double scuttle. And the double scuttle was really key for Blinky to be able to survive that early game when Skarner went for a 7-camp clear and the Poppy was not able to keep up with that. So I want to see again if the space is able to be created by Space Team 5 in order to make sure that Blinky is able to pick up that Scuttlecrad, or if we're going to see Jarvan on the Agony, or Agony's Jarvan, really just rip him apart again.
Yeah, we really didn't even talk about the Jarvan all too much. I think Jarvan was a pretty solid pick for Agony, a very heavy ganker. You have Thresh, you've got Anivia. You know, there's potential to set up some really effective ganks with the Flag and Drag. So I expect Agony to have a much bigger role in this game than he did last game, pre-6. Yeah, pre-6 obviously kind of came in, had a little bit of jungle presence here and there, did a pretty good job of getting clears done, obviously secured the early dragon, but now I'm kind of expecting him to move around, start hitting these flag and drags, maybe try to set up a lot of kills. I think that Space Team 5's team is rather safe, so I don't think they would have very many issues trying to deal with this Jarvan. However, they do need to be on high alert. If they're not on high alert, they will get wiped pretty quickly.
I'm a little bit more worried as we start loading into this game, and we see that new patch this has picked up the Conqueror on his ear and is looking for that late game rune. And we also see that Junior FX has picked up the lethal tempo on Sivir. Both of these are going to be strong late game runes, but I really would have liked to have seen more early game presence for them, specifically because last game they got crushed in the early game. We do see that there is a potential invade through, though.
Collective Destiny is bringing the entire 5, and Namisor is in the area. Not sure if they will spot him out.
Namisor will not spot this out.
No, they don't see him.
We will see Collective Destiny sneaks into this blue buff. This is give them a lot of information. They get a very nice ward down.
They're gonna run into Namisor. Namisor is going to have to run. This is not good. New Patchu, this is memeing around in the mid lane. Namisor has been spotted. They're going to sit there, and this is just bad news. Bears for him. That's a 3-man knockup. They've been stunned and taken down. Adishon getting the job done early, getting first blood. A lot of golds, and we saw Adishon in the last game carry real hard when they got ahead early. This is bad news for the side of Space Team 5, and especially that bot lane of Junior FX and Somber. Now, all of a sudden, there's a lot more threat in that bot lane.
You got to be really careful where you position yourself in these early games. And last game, we saw the 5-point structure taken up by both teams, but this game, we did not see a person in the proper positioning for the 5-point structure from Space Team 5 covering all 5 entrances, and this led to their downfall as Namisor gives over that first blood and will give his extra longsword and potion to Jinx. However, I think Jinx is going to miss a few minions on the first wave, which will put her in a bit of a rough position.
I gotta say, I have to put a lot of the blame on the new patch. You have the opportunity to get your Sand Soldiers out to give you a lot of vision. They did not take that opportunity to do so. That you could have creatively positioned the Azir to have the Sand Soldiers reveal a pretty nice area. As we see Agony coming in, will hold the flag and drag, will hit it now. Good flag from Patchudis, but that is a flash burn from new Patchudis. So is not what you like to see if you are on the side of Space Team 5. Things not looking too good early for them. Junior Effect will pop the spell shield, so they will get some mana back. So that's pretty nice. You're happy to see that. You know, when you're more than happy to see somebody throw a hook at you. You know, mana's nice, especially on Sivir. You really do need the mana.
And we see fighting is happening in all of these lanes. They're getting some very aggressive trades going down. Agony did have the opportunity to potentially utilize his flash along with that flag and drag. Did not go for it. Something that we might see in other leagues, but in our amateur play would be rather surprising.
It would have been awesome, though.
It absolutely would have been awesome. But fantastic to see Junior FX landing his first spell of the game against Dogster's first death sentence of the game outside of the invade, and potentially bodes very well going into the rest of the series as we see Agony with a wraparound.
Very low, and now Agony is here. Nice flag and drag knock up into the hook, and that is all she wrote for Junior FX. You can heal all you like, you can't heal death. That is a second kill going over to the Jinx, and things are not looking too good for the bot lane of Space Team 5. I would be very concerned.
Just as we mentioned it, instead of there being a cast of the curse, it's like Mr. Blessing his Agony walks on over and delivers a beautiful flash flag and drag. Just cleanly utilizes the lollipopping on the end of that hitbox to pick up the Leona with the back end of that knockup, which stops the Leona from being able to deliver any kind of heal of the crowd control from her abilities, and Junior FX just delivered on a silver plate. Adishon up 2-0.
And burning the heal as well. A bit ill-advised. I understand, you kind of want to do everything you can to try to get out of there, but I think at that point you just need to hold your summoners and just let it be. We did see Blinky the Robot come up to the top lane a little bit ago to try to make a play happen, but you can see the difference between these junglers right now. Agony is woke and Blinky the Robot is broke. It is a big problem here. I expect the jungle gap to get even wider just because these champions fundamentally function differently at this point in the game.
Said Blinky the Robot is doing a reasonable job utilizing the time that's been given to him by Agni to make sure that he farms up at a reasonable-ish rate for the Shen. We did mention before the game started that Shen is going to have a very difficult time up these matchups. We see another stun coming through. Just so much damage comes out of Zanivia.
This having a really tough time, and here comes Agony, ready to make a play. Flag and Drag will get the kill. That is Agony getting up their first kill of the game. Third kill participation mark on their report card. Pretty happy to see that. Meanwhile, New Patchudis has had problems all day long from Coral, be it lane, be it ganks. It's just not looking too good for him.
Agony has come into his, what many colleges have is the last week of their semester with finals coming up, and is ready to rock. We see fights breaking out everywhere.
Yeah, there was a nice hook landed in the bot lane, so Somber is going to have to run away with their tail tucked between their legs, having to burn a potion there, but they do have a couple sitting in the inventory with a couple of biscuits as well, and Blinky doing a little fancy counter jungling here.
Yeah, Namisar, that's nice damage.
Yeah, this is a really nice trade. So Namisar hits level 6, it's going to be all over for Lawrence, but Lawrence is the one hit level 6 first. However, Namisar following suit very shortly after. Narbar almost up and ready to go. It looks like they're going to try to make this play. Flashing forward to the Chompers there. Look at the size of those Chompers. As Namisor is going to get their first kill of the game. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, Dogster with a beautiful flash to dodge the taunt. The hook coming onto Blinky the Robot. A lot of these are getting blocked, though. And now Agony, he is coming through, trying to make a play. However, Dogster and Adishon have to back off. So not a bad job there. A great flash by the Thresh, but a very strong tool now missing from the support of the Collective Destiny.
And we didn't see the exhaust come down from Dogster, so they will have that if a fight breaks out. Definitely holding on to it in case he can find a potential 2v2 where he can utilize that to win. New Patchudis is just in such a world of trouble with that early flash being blown. It's on the powerful.
Trying to defend this pink, as we see in the mid lane. Coral just does so much damage. The Glacial Storm as well, just ticking over and over again. Agony trying to maybe make a play, torn between New Patchudis and Blinky the Robot, who he wants to go after, but I think he might settle for the chickens. And is Leona trying to make their way up, but they realize that their Shen has to back, so there's not a play to be made there. Agony not wanting to go any deeper here. Junior FX, ooh, they took a step and popped their spell shield, and they don't get any credit for blocking an ability there. So that's not too great. It's a long cooldown. You don't get any mana back. It kind of sucks. And it just kind of
I want to take a moment here, though, to mention the pink ward setup that we see coming out of Collective Destiny. We talked about the warding that comes out of the top teams that we see in these amateur leagues a little bit last game. And here we can see in the bottom lane, outside the bottom river at the top of Dragon Pit and Red Bump, there is a pink ward, along with a pink ward in the Pixel Bush in River, and then additionally a pink ward in bottom lanes. These three pink wards are just absolutely dominating vision for that bottom side for them, and really making it so they can capitalize on all these plays because they know exactly where the members of Space Team 5 are, so they are always able to make a numbers positive play wherever they go.
Kind of surprised me that the Dragon wasn't opted for by the Collective Destiny early on, but it looks like they're there now. They're ready to go. They wanted to get their backs through. They're going to get their clears out. Dogster's probably going to help out Agony, but yep, they're going to start it up.
Namisor in trouble. Namisor falls.
Namisor goes down to Lawrence in the top lane. On the bot side of the map, we do see Junior FX and Somber nowhere to be found. Blinky the Robot hanging around, trying to clear out some wards. Will not finish that pink and will instead opt to walk toward the Dragon. It's a 2v1. Blinky the Robot, though, trying to see if
Blinky
they can...
is in a really wide spot.
Caught out by Carl. The red team has slain the Dragon. and it looks like both sides will walk away with no further issues. Dragon secured by the side of the Collective Destiny. Your Wind Drake will be the second Drake of the game, so we either have Infernal or Mountain Soul as the soul of choice, and we see Nami Soul ready and will get another solo kill onto Lawrence. So while Lawrence does get one onto Nami Soul trades back almost immediately.
Yeah, Nami Soul 2, Lawrence 1, and Nami Soul said, you beat up my buddy Wanlu last game, and I'm not a pushover. You may kill me once, but I'll kill you twice every time you kill me. And right now, that has been the moral of the story. And don't mess with the dinosaur. And Nar is only a dinosaur half the time that Shogun is.
Yeah, I don't think that Nami Soul understands the expression "kill me once, shame on you," because they just don't get killed twice.
Oh, they have been killed twice. Just not both times by
come
Lawrence.
on, yeah, that was a 5v1. Like, what do you expect to happen?
What? Hey, I've seen Shogun turn around at 5. Oh,
flashing forward. The Shrima shuffle into Nami Soul. This is great. Great layering of CC. Carl has to flash away. Not quite sure why you're going to flash in that direction, as you have no teammates to save you, and you are nothing but Eggs Benedict. And down they go. The kill will go to Blinky the Robot in this case.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed to see that kill go to Blinky the Robot. Your Shen Jungle did not need to pick up the kill there. Could have given it to your snowballing Cho'Gath, who is building Lost Chapter and potentially turning that into maybe like a cross. Or you could have given it to your Azir, who's supposed to carry you. Oh, doing some cool moves.
Yeah, look at the plays, look at the moves. That's the swag step right there.
Oh no, we need to take a moment here.
Okay.
Look at the CS differential that has been built up by this Jinx compared to this Sivir. That is a lot of money that has been put in the pocket of your Jinx that's not in the pocket of your Sivir.
Yeah, and typically you don't see that sort of thing happen. Uh-oh, the hook doesn't quite land. Junior FX will hit level 7. Agony now bearing down on New Patchudis. New Patchudis will get knocked up, and he interrupted the dash, so now he's got nowhere to go. Coral trying to catch up very quickly, and that will be the Cataclysm, and Coral with the flash freeze, throwing the icicle dagger through the heart of New Patchudis. First kill of the game for Coral, 5th overall for the team.
Yeah, and I really respect the fact that Agony threw down the Cataclysm there in order to make sure that Coral can catch up and secure that kill on the Anivia. We just talked about how the Shen picked up the kill before, and that's really not going to help your team win the game. Agony recognizes this and knows that while he could have just run down New Patchudis with his red buff, he wants to give that kill over to his Anivia and get that Anivia scaling faster. And this is really what's been the difference between Collective Destiny and Space Team. Last game we saw 12 kills on their Jinx carry, 6 kills on their Anivia, and only 2 kills outside of those two champions. And this game we're seeing something very similar break out where they're mostly putting all their kills onto the Anivia and onto the Jinx, with a solo kill being picked up by the one kill.
Oh, here comes an engagement. Adishon stepped a little too far forward, gets flashed on. Here comes Spin United. Agony is joining the fight. The teleport coming in from the mid laner. Down goes Adishon for the first kill. New Patchudis is here, but there's nothing more to be done. On the backside, it was Coral showing up, but they will have to walk away without anything being able to be done by them. Just a very nice play by the side of Space Team 5. They got a lot of fight in them this game compared to the first game.
Yeah, absolutely. They've already put up 3 more kills. It's quadrupling their kills from last game.
I think 2 more. They're doubling their kills. They had 2 kills. They got one at the end of the game. They got one at the end of the game.
When you only hit a few kills in a game.
Hey, listen, every kill counts. Listen, would you rather say you had 1 kill at the end of the game or 2? I'd rather say 2.
You know, honestly, I'd rather I said 0. That way I knew that I just had a terrible game. Like, at least if you had 2 kills, like maybe something. But, 0 kills, you just walk it off. I will say, though, the farm discrepancies are getting rather massive, and this has led to about a 2,000 gold lead for the side of Collective Destiny, despite the kill score being so even. And with the second dragon about to spawn here in about 45 seconds, we are seeing the mythic item completed for Adishon. The Kraken Slayer has come through. This will be ripping apart even the super tanks of Blinky and Nami Soul as they start to get their items behind here.
This is true. Adishon, however, doesn't have flash for this fight. Burned it in the last fight along with heal and died as well. So we will have to see how the next fight shakes out. Blinky the Robot has headed to the top lane, so this may be a concession of the dragon, which will be up in about 15 seconds. I do think Blinky will be able to get relatively close to the area. We do see Coral is on top of a ward. New Patchudis recognizes that. Is playing wisely accordingly. This is a great play by Agony. Sombra has nowhere to go. Will drop the ultimate, but will go down. Flash Flight didn't quite connect, and Junior FX will be able to get out of there. But a nice aggressive play from the side of the Collective Destiny, and it pays off once again for them. They will lose the Rift Herald, but they will get the second dragon of the game.
Agony's Jarvan play has been crisp.
Yeah,
that was a fantastic Black Dragon. Just absolutely
that's a big boy play. Oh no, they're converging on Nupachu. Namisaur and Blinky the Robot are in the area. However, it looks like the Collective Destiny has stopped. They realize that the Herald went down, so it's dangerous, uncharted territory for them. This time, the Herald will actually be picked up by Space Team 5. They will be able to utilize it any way they wish. They do opt to give it to Namisaur. I'm a pretty big fan of that. Namisaur has had a pretty good game versus Lawrence so far. However, the scope in which you can use this Rift Herald obviously very limited. It's probably just going to go into the top lane, and you know, as you get into the mid and late game, you'd probably rather have some other turrets down. However, funneling gold into the players performing incredibly well is probably an okay strategy too.
Yeah, and one of the big things that we're seeing here is that Cho'Gath has picked up the Everfrost now, and Everfrost is going to allow them to lock down those targets that are close to them, which is really going to make that on the hunt for the Sivir a lot more potent and deeply as they look for these fights.
Hook landed. Junior FX has nowhere to go. Here comes the
shield.
Right. Adishon did get stunned up, so now he's going to have to get out of there. Somber
picks up
will
one.
Get in there. They'll find a kill.
Oh,
Multiple teleports coming down. Here comes the squad. Da-da-da-da. Coral is into the back line now. Somber getting stunned up, going down. It's a double kill for this Anivia. Jarvan coming up the rear. Let's see what he can do.
Everfrost
with a great 3-man Everfrost. Does get hooked. Does take a lot of damage. Does get stunned. Flag and drag in. Here comes the Cataclysm. Blinky the Robot. Nowhere to go. Nupachu is doing what he can. A shuffle into the turret. The turret doing a bunch of damage. Dogster is the first to fall. That Blinky the Robot getting very low. The turret is heated up. Doing so much damage. Lawrence tanking so much.
My goodness!
Uses the Nara ultimate. Coral dancing around will take the turret shot, but is still getting hit from the heated up turret. He's resurrecting. The last shot will do it. It'll be a shutdown over to the mid lane. A huge fight. Kills all around. Craziness going down. Overall, ended up being a 5 for 3. Yeah, a 5 for 3 in favor of the Collective Destiny.
Really just really unfortunate that because
it lost the turret too.
Well, because Carl picks up the turret aggro before going into egg form and is not able to get out of that turret before going into egg, the Anivia maximizes her bounty before dying because she is put out of that and gets her full bounty applied to her. This is a large amount of gold that goes back to Nupachu. It does make it almost a 5 for 4 in terms of overall gold swing.
Right.
We do see that.
Adishon getting stunned up.
Just no damage follow-up.
Anything. Yeah. No damage follow-up there. Turret is going to go down, so more gold into the pocket of the Collective Destiny. And as rough as it seemed like that fight went, the Collective Destiny, they just expanded their gold lead even more. Now, sure, Nupachu Dis getting a lot of that gold. You can kind of put all of your eggs in the Nupachu Dis basket. Obviously, everybody who's played against Azir knows once Azir gets the late game, he hurts quite a bit.
Now, I want to talk about Everfrost really quickly, since we have seen it picked up by both our Cho'Gath and our Anivia in this game, and it has been changed a little bit recently. It has that little bit of time to it, and we saw there that Namisaur utilized it really excellently to get a 3-man route. However, Dogster took advantage of that cast time on that Everfrost and knew that Cho'Gath was going to stand still to catch the Everfrost, and lands an excellent death sentence on Namisaur, which seals the Cho'Gath fate. And because Namisaur has not picked up any sorts of resistances really other than this Claw Farm and the Spell Magic Mantle, they fall very, very quickly while under pressure despite having, I believe, 5 stacks now of Feast on themselves.
This is really going to soon, by the way. That's going to expire very shortly.
Yeah, I'm sure that we'll see the Rift Herald come down to try and take this outer top tower. There's got about 15 seconds left on it. There it goes.
There we go, there we go.
Anivia's
has shown up to the top lane, though. Yeah.
Anivia actually can wall the Rift Herald charge. Let's see if she's going to go for it. No, it does not.
Didn't do so. Turret will still stand, and Coral will get full gold credit. I guess they just want to use it to fight Namisaur. Namisaur getting taken to about half HP. Meanwhile, in the bot lane, Somber in the 3v1 will fall to Adishon, their 3rd kill of the game. They've had a hard time getting off the ground in this game, but it looks like they may be clear for takeoff. So that is their 3rd. Agony trying to clear out some wards in the jungle, as it looks like the side of the Collective Destiny, they will begin to take over this bot side jungle. and try to push their vision lines a little bit further.
Yeah, one thing that we've seen really effectively done by Space Team 5 here is they have utilized this blue side jungle to get down a lot of wards. They were just figured out just now, but before that we saw they had excellent defensive vision on their side of the map, and really looking to see them continue to do that. As we do see...
Azir teleport top.
This could be an easy kill.
Oh, Coral does so much damage. New patch, who this? Nowhere to go. Teleports to his death. Junior FX
New
has been
patch,
engaged on
who
by
dead?
Lawrence. Lawrence will pop on the hunt. Meanwhile, this will be a pretty free dragon for the side of the Collective Destiny. Their third of the game, it is the Ocean Soul. Meanwhile, in the top lane, not only does Coral get the kill, they also get the turret. So much gold going their way. That's about 600 gold worth, and in their pocket is just going to make them an even more indomitable force.
Yeah, and we see that Namisor has now been sent to deal with this Anivia, but realistically speaking, no one from the side of Space Team 5 is able to deal with the multi-kill Nivea here, and okay.
Namisor gets eaten. There was no egg to eat there, so they opted for chicken instead of eggs. Lawrence will land a two-man stun against the wall. Their stuns coming out of Blinky. Blinky, the robot, that was in a 3v1. Good solar flare, but Blinky was knocked up and had nowhere to escape to, so it's a double kill for this Gnar, and it's a 2-for-1 overall, and the siege continues on this top side. New Patchudis doing what they can. They do have a fair bit of damage, as we saw Agony had to get out of there pretty quickly. They were burning away, but it looks like they will be a-okay. They will scoop up this blue buff. I'm not sure if they'll go over to Dogster or Agony. New Patchudis, the hook lands onto them. He gets flayed away. Agony wants no part of this, is more than willing to concede the blue buff, and New Patchudis will take it. It was a bit of a skirmish for it, a bit of a fight, but well played by the Azir, as the Collective Destiny decided they don't want to give up any of their lead that they have worked so hard to cultivate, as the early game was a little tougher.
Yeah, one of the big things that we see coming out of the Collective Destiny here is we see that they are very heavily focusing on protecting Coral on the Anivia, and this is paying off in dividends for them, both in last game and in this game. However, when that Anivia does overstep their boundaries without their summer spells up and without their defensive cooldowns up, it is possible for them to fall, as we just saw Namisor take them down with a great use of the Everfrost into a Rupture Silence and then Feast. And if this is able to happen around an objective, then there's going to be a really good chance that Space Team 5 can make some sort of comeback happen in this game. Otherwise, they're down 6,000 gold, and they are fighting into two of the strongest carries in the game with Jinx and Anivia, both sitting on 2 items. We've got the Runaan's Hurricane and the Slayer for the Jinx. She will be cutting through that front line all at once, all 3 of them. And the Anivia has brought forth their Seraph's Embrace and an Everfrost, so they have a massive amount of ability power. Both of these champions are doing a huge amount of damage, and they're just looking to try to find a way to either catch Space Team 5 off guard, or potentially translate this towards setting up Baron and finding an opportunity to take that major.
A little bit ago, we did see New Patchudis get the top turret, get the gold for that, and they did pick up a Nashor's Tooth. Meanwhile, we see Dogster chasing down Junior FX, but Junior FX is able to walk their way out of there to the safety of their team. However, they are not able to sweep any meaningful wards out, as they did not walk up quite enough. They're very afraid of the Collective Destiny. I would be too. They do see the Anivias in the top lane. Jarvan be Jinx taking it back there. So Adishan will be able to join things a little bit later. Did pick up their BF sword. As it looks like the Collective Destiny are just content to kind of set up their warding, get their last couple of big item purchases that they can in preparation for the Dragon Soul in about a minute and 20 seconds.
One of the big things that we see coming through here from Collective Destiny is they have a good job. They've done a good job of setting up their pink wards throughout this game. They have a lot of advanced information. We see one very sneaky pink ward near the base gate entrance of Space Team 5, down on the minimap right in the corner. And then we see another pink ward at the red buff entrance for them as well. So even if they lose this corridor to Space Team 5, they do know where they're retreating to, which means that they have perfect information on the opposing team at all times, and allows them to really set up these choke points as they enter these fights to maximize Carl's damage in the choke point.
The team's jockeying for position on the hunt has been burnt. Coral will get a nice flash out. Namisor, though, is in hot pursuit. Will dodge a knock-up there. Great stuff there from Coral. And there is just no follow-up to be had. Now, Adishon, Agony, and Dogster looking to push away the side of Space Team 5. A three-man flay landed. There's a lot of stuns going out. Junior FX has been cut off. Sombra flashes into the Cataclysm on the other side. Taunts up plenty going down. Namisor is going to find Adishon. And now on the other side, Agony's got to try to get there. Will drag out. And now Blinky the Robot will be the one to go down. It's a double kill for Carl. Namisor is the last one standing. A quadra kill for this Anivia. The bird is indeed the word, but it's over to the side of the Collective Destiny. And now the Collective Destiny will take a look at this dragon, and they will opt to take care of the Dragon Soul. So it looks like their focus is a little bit split. They're going to send it 2 members toward the mid lane to push that mid-inner turret. Never mind, make it 3, as Lawrence has decided that he would rather hang around near his team. But no, he's going to opt for jungle camps instead. What do I know? We do see, though, that Jarvan will be able to secure this without any issues at all. And now an already difficult task becomes even more Herculean for the side of Space Team 5, as they now have to try to chew through an Ocean Soul. And I'm not sure if they're going to be able to do so.
Yeah, and the Ocean Soul is going to mean that every time that an auto attack or spell lands for members of Collective Destiny, they will be gaining back a percentage of their missing health, and they're missing around 3.5% on 2.5 second eternal cooldown. So they will be healing a rather large amount throughout these fights as they sustain through them, pretty much only being susceptible to burst damage. As we see here, there are no sources of grievous wounds to cut that healing down from the side of Space Team 5, with the exception of the Bramble Vest of Leona's inventory, which will require her to be hit. So there is a high likelihood that most of the members of Collective Destiny may just never die again this game, as they're going to have a lot of healing to keep them alive throughout these fights and sustain them. We see them trying to go set up here for potential Baron take, and really at this point, the world is their oyster. Any of their members can get caught out, and they're largely taking it up to get away with it as long as they're not a carry threat. And it's just on them to find a way to close out this game.
Dogster will blast plant himself over the wall as Somber and New Patchudis doing what they can to clear out the deepest wards and the recesses of their jungle, but there's really not all too much they can do. 2 wards in here.
Here we go.
Coral here, landing a pretty big stun. Look at the burst! Agony will come in and scoop up that kill. Now Somber getting taken very low, and they will go down. Jinx is knocked up on the back end, but it's not going to matter. It was flash from Junior FX, but Dogster says, get back in the lantern, as Blinky and Namisor are running scared. Lawrence wasn't even in that fight and is just continuing to push out the bot lane with a pretty large wave. I wonder how much of that wave will be lost by the time this Baron has been taken, because if you can Baron up that big of a wave, it's going to be problematic. Lawrence has opted to back off as Namisor has rotated over, but the Baron firmly in the control of the Collective Destiny.
Yeah, we've seen the Collective Destiny really just set up a screen of wards there. They deny all the vision that Space Team 5 is able to get, and wait for them to come up into that choke point. As soon as they approach the choke point, Nivea throws down all of her damage on the choke point. Could have utilized the Frostwall to stop any escape as well. And that's really just all she wrote in terms of how these teamfights are going to play out, how this game is going to play out, really, because
so much CC! Coral and Dogster combining to keep Shen stun locked for the rest of the game. It may look like another stun going down. Junior FX, never stood a chance. New Patchu this, trying to use the Emperor's Divide, puts Adishon on the other side of the wall, but it's a double kill for Adishon. Make it a triple, and that will be all she wrote. They sent 2 members to try to deal with this Gnar, and their efforts were fruitless, as the rest of the Collective Destiny. Lawrence has joined the team. They knocked down the first inhibitor on the top side. Somber, I don't think there's anything you can do, as they will be quite somber as they watch their team's hopes of winning drift away slowly but surely. The engagement onto Sombra, the knock up, the hook, the stuns. It's all way too much damage. Nothing they can do. It's a full ace. And now Blinky the Robot in a lot of trouble. Will try to block all the damage he possibly can. The hook lands so many knockups. There's another kill. They're going to opt to kill the Nexus instead of Junior FX this time. And that is it. The Collective Destiny come in against Space Team 5 in a battle for first place last game before the playoffs and make a statement.
And we see Collective Destiny locking in that first seed, really showing their stuff. They don't even have to reveal all that much technology. They pretty much ran the same exact composition in both games with slight champion changes, but in terms of mechanical performance, nothing different between the two. And overall, we're just going to see that they significantly outperform their counterparts in Space Team 5. We saw the Nami Sword change come through. It didn't really do a whole lot to help them out. For the most part here, we're
had a good early game, though.
Traded a couple kills back, did a great job solo killing the Gnar, did it a second time, did give up one solo kill himself, though. That said, I mean, Space Team 5 did a much better job in this second game. They really put up better numbers. They were able to fight back a little bit, but really they're just relying on these late game scaling picks and getting shredded in this early game. With really got to give a shout out to the jungle mismatch here between Agony and Blinky the Robot. Agony with a 23 kill participation, deathless second game, just made that Jarvan look so crisp, so clean. And Carl with the Anivia, I mean, they really just put on a show in this second game. 23 kill participation for them as well. 12 of them being kills, and they just shredded wherever they went on that.
Oh, yeah. And I have to say, I mean, Coral, their Anivia was so scary. That damage that they put out. This is somebody who's clearly has put a lot of time into that champion, understands how the champion works, understands when they're strong, when they're weak, and I'm pretty sure they just know they're strong all the time, as Coral absolutely had their way with new patch Judas. Really just on a different level when it came to the mid laners here. So new patch Judas is definitely going to have to do some training in the mountains to step up come playoff time.
Yeah, and honestly, a little bit sad to not see new patch Judas bring out any of their melee assassins. Would have really loved to see them play the Yone or potentially whip out the Talon. Both of these would have been excellent choices to try and just get to that Anivia and stop the Anivia from scaling. That said, they really do rely on your jungler to be able to help you out. Blinky getting gapped by Agony that hard, it does make me wonder, what if you had not targeted the jungle that hard? What if you just let them take one of those S tier junglers and taking one for yourselves? Blinky just didn't quite show up on these picks that they picked today, and Agony really just played out of their mind on all of their picks. So maybe that's a question to see in playoffs. These teams could potentially meet each other in the playoffs later on. Space Team 5 is certainly going to have a nice seed going into the playoffs with only 2 losses, whereas Collective Destiny going to be that seed 1. So potential rematch in the future.
Absolutely. And, Collective Destiny, they just looked really impressive. They are now the second undefeated team to go 9-0 in the Premade Rampage Season 10. Screaming Sun Gaming, the other team, they were in Division A. They went 9-0 as well. So we will see how the rest of the playoffs will shake out, as we still have Omega Gaming Oblivion looking to go 9-0 and Grin Reapers to go 9-0. And the playoffs, they are just right around the corner. The round of 16, best of 3s, will start on May 8th. So that's what, 2 weeks from now, right? I can do math. Yeah, 2 weeks from now, the playoffs will start. We'll give these teams plenty of time to prepare. Maybe some new cool picks coming out of the Collective Destiny. Space Team 5 will have time to kind of hone the type of roster that they would like to use. So I'm pretty excited for it, and I'll be paying very close attention to the playoffs, as I believe you and I should be around for a little bit of the playoffs, yeah?
Yeah, I think that we'll be here for one of the semifinals matches, and I believe also the finals as well.
I hope so, man.
If you enjoyed our content, stick around, give Risen and Esports a follow.
Absolutely, because we got more games. There's games tomorrow as well. We got what do we have on deck tomorrow? We have let me try to find what we have on deck. Yes. We have what day is it? I'm sorry. The Premade Dominate tomorrow, casted by Gala and Grapes. This will be at 7 p.m., same time as tonight. So if you were definitely not tired of any Risen Esports content, there is more on deck, baby. And I am hoping that the games will be as hyped up as they were today. So hopefully, Yanni and the Midget Cow will see you all later. We really enjoyed your time today. Thank you for coming in, watching this, taking time out of your Saturday to spend it with us. I hope you enjoyed the games. And you got any last words, Midget Cow, before we skedaddle out of here to Taco Bell?
Yeah, we got to give a few shout outs really quickly. We got to give a shout out to chat, as always. Thank you for sticking with us and giving us some great insight as to where you guys were at. Thank you to our MVP for this series. Excellent job setting up your plays in that jungler position and really just shining across the map. And a quick shout out to our producer and observer, the Great Firewall. Thank you very much for producing such a crisp stream for us and making sure you caught as much of the action as physically possible.
So quality, the Great Firewall. Really appreciate you, my dude. You did a great job today. So we are more than happy. We were very, very happy to work with you. You did such a great job today. So I believe that'll be it for us. Like I said, the playoffs will be back for the Premade Rampage League in 2 weeks. You don't want to miss them. And more Risen Esports content coming your way tomorrow at 7 p.m. EST. You don't want to miss it. But for me, the Midget Cow, the Great Firewall, and all of Risen, we wish you all a great night. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Take a moment right here, feeling like it's out gear. Driving towards the sun with a rose and a gun. Feel the wind in my hair, going nowhere I swear. Like an outlaw on the run, dangerous but it's so fun. Running, running, no. Hold on, don't let go. Running, running, no. Keep running. Told my boss that I'm done. Had no luck with my mom. Say, what will you do with your life? You know it's hard to survive. A cigar in my mouth, maybe guilty but proud. Now I'm an outlaw.